Why not?
For sure. Hey, I want to ask you a question.
Yes. 3 inches, but you can have it all.
Well, I just finished
Oh,
reading.
just a bit of blue there, just a bit, just to start the day off. I don't want to upset too
You know,
many
we
people.
can say whatever
Just a
we
little
want.
bit. No, but
Y-
I don't want to.
You and I keep
This
it
is
pretty
not this.
pretty civil. We keep it
Yes.
pretty PG. But I just finished reading a book that just came out. It was called "There's Just One Problem" by Mr. Brian Gewirtz, and he was talking
Ah,
about, and I've met Brian before. I've spent some time with him. He's a funny guy, and I was wondering if
yes.
you
I
had
like
any.
Brian a lot.
Any he's very likable. If and very funny, like there's a couple stories he told that he didn't tell in the book that are just hilarious. But if you have anything you could share about your time with Mr. Gewirtz, now that his book has become surprisingly the number one wrestling book,
Is
uh,
it good for him?
just this week, just came out a couple
Right.
days ago too.
I really like Brian. Brian was a huge supporter of mine, and he gave me some incredible opportunities to do a lot of things. And he was not originally, but very shortly after I first went to the WWE, he was the person, and Ed Koski is another person, but Brian particularly liked what I did and let me have a lot of free reign on whatever I wanted to do. And he was I can't speak enough highly about Brian. We got on very well. We always had a great rapport, and I remember the time when when there was all the guest hosts.
Yes, he does a whole chapter about all the celebrity guest
Right.
hosts.
Well, he
Yeah.
brought me back to Raw to do that specifically. And if you go back and look at that, I got to do all that stuff with all those people. I mean, he was there when we did the Hulk Hogan thing that some people seem to mention now and then when what we were watching the Hulk Hogan um, cartoon show, and I just went off, and that was, I
Right.
think, and I could be wrong, but I think that was a one take, but we didn't. He trusted me so much with a lot of stuff, and knew seemed to know what I could do. There was we sat with this table, and again, my brain's not as good as his brain will be. I'm not trying to, not woe is me, but my brain's had a bit of a banging right here. Um, and I've caned it, like when I was younger. So don't blame wrestling for it. That's me caning it. You know what I mean? And Brian was definitely there when we did that, and we just there was props, there was whatever was on the table, and I looked at it and looked at it, and if I remember rightly, we just banged that out in one session, or tried it like a couple of ideas and then banged it out. Brian gave me some fantastic opportunities. There's a few times I'm going to, and now that you've mentioned him, I want to apologize to Brian. Um, this is letting in on a little thing that I wouldn't normally talk about. But Brian always looked after me. But when you're on TV, different, everything's changed now. When you're on TV every week, as doing the commissioner or doing whatever I was doing, I didn't get as much wrestling work. Well, I made my money off wrestling work, getting paid off houses. You didn't get, because I wasn't a regular pay per view drawer or any. I wasn't anything like that.
Right. You're used to
I'm
getting
just, I'm,
paid
I'm,
based off the house, right?
I'm a bit player.
Right.
So there's times when I would like, can we do this? Can we do that? Because I was just looking to try and feed my family because I had but it's certainly not his fault. I had incredible spots on TV because of Brian Gewirtz. Just incredible spot. He gave me so much incredible stuff when I look back. But and it might have been odd. He might not even remember it, but there'd be the odd time when I was like, "Oh, can I do this?" Because it was me trying to just get so I could wrestle more, so I could make more money. But now that's all changed for everybody. So anybody, I only hope, that the talent nowadays in any company, doesn't matter who you work for, get somebody who is as good to me as Brian Gewirtz was.
Wow, well, that was an endorsement. And the book is called "There's Just One Problem," and there's just one problem, which is true tales from the once seventh most powerful man in wrestling. He says, tongue in cheek. And we're not getting paid for this ads. It's me and my wrestling friends, Corey Ryan Forster and Conrad Thompson. We've all been texting about this book all week. Like this, it's an amazing, book.
I'm not gonna, Brian, if you're listening, dear boy, send your old friend a copy, because there's little chance of me buying it. I've got 17 ex-wives to pay for because I'm addicted to wedding cake.
That's the most expensive addiction of all.
Right. I've got a lizard problem. I like wearing.
You have a big lizard problem too.
You know what I mean? It's so just, we have enough mutual friends. You can get hold of me. Send me a copy, and I'll happily give you more of an endorsement than you can, because I know that you were a absolute. You did so much for me and give me so many great memorable things to do, and just unbelievable. Just that. I was involved in so much of what I did, but like just that time we mentioned with the guest celebrities. I mean, doing stuff with Florence Henderson and that Brady Bunch stuff, and I mean, it's like, who gets to do that?
Right.
And like working with Cheech and Chong and Chris Angel and just like. And
it seemed with those celebrity guest hosts, it was either you or Jericho who always kind of ended up working with them. They would always bring you out, and someone who could play off of the celebrities really well. Yeah.
And Brian understood that and knew that, and he was just a wonderful, wonderful supporter of mine. And I'm trying to think of some of the other things we did. We did so much stuff. He was involved in pretty much everything that I did that was memorable, as far as, which is an entire career, except, like some people know me for whatever they know me for. If you only watch me for a certain point in time in your life, which if you're at a certain age, how can you not? You're not going to watch me. You're going to watch, the main players. But he gave me so much stuff to do and was a part of giving me so many opportunities to do my character and to just give me and give me free reign as well. That was the other thing, is just like, just do you.
The trust,
which is something that a lot of people, I don't think, will ever have the time to build up in this day and age. And that's, it's not a bad thing. It's not a sad thing. It's just the way it is. He gave me so many incredible opportunities, and I can't thank him enough for it. And that's before anybody. I don't know why I'm even saying this, but before anybody you're trying to get yourself a job with Brian because of the no, I'm not. I've said this many times. Brian is one of those fellas that was a huge supporter of mine and gave me the best things that I could ever do, which are the stuff that people remember me for. Some people know me for just short periods of time of maybe nothing special. Some people know me for being a whatever supposed, as far as a wrestler I am. The majority of people know me, and the way I get treated nowadays is because of the entertaining stuff that Brian Gewirtz gave me.
Well, there you go. And it's a great book, and it's a funny read, and I'm sure you'll get a copy somehow. I do want to.
Does he mention me?
You do get mentioned. There is a couple mentions of the fun stuff you guys did together, for sure.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. But I do want
Otherwise, he can keep his book.
I do want to segue into what our subject is this week. It's a timely tale, of course. Last week there was some news that came out, and something that's some stuff you can talk about, some stuff you can't. But I know that you were very passionate about this, and which is the NXT UK brand.
Yes.
And I'd like to talk a little bit about just the start of it and how you came up with. When did you come up with the idea, or when did the idea presented to you?
I didn't.
And how did it come to become the tournament that started the whole thing?
Okay, so we've mentioned this before. Anybody who wants to, people will say all kinds of things about NXT UK. It's 10 years ago since, maybe a little over, that Triple H came up to me when we were somewhere in England and said, we will be having an NXT UK. Excuse me for 1 second. We will be having an NXT UK in the UK in the foreseeable future, because that's how far he thinks ahead. And my friend was at the show, Robbie Brookside, who is still a trainer at NXT, and H knew Robbie because of me, and he'd met a few times because Robbie had come to see me at shows. It was the only time we ever got to see each other, really, when I was back in England, so he'd come to shows. But H had Triple H had heard a lot about Robbie because of me, because we travelled together a lot when we were younger at different times, and he knew how influential Robbie was with my career. And there was somebody getting extras for WWE from England, and I liked him, and I've been a lot of places with him, and I spent a lot of time. I've known him since I was a teenager, but I found out he was taking liberties with his perceived power that he thought he had, which he didn't. We mentioned this a few weeks ago on a podcast. No, but anybody who gets put in a job of thinking they have anything power, they don't. It's only the people with the money have real power. Don't start abusing your power. Well, this fella was abusing his power, and I heard about it and I didn't like it. Although I like this fella, he was abusing power. He was taking money off people, I found out, and Sheamus and Wade Barrett and Drew McIntyre know this. And just how can I put this? Certain things that have happened lately, that was happening under somebody else's watch before Triple H took over as doing talent relations and talent and NXT and whatever. And I didn't like that. And then I knew that I was going into the job that I went into with Triple H. And this certain person was, and he's no longer with us, so I don't want to because I did like him, because he was a very entertaining person, and he was very talented, and I went a lot of places with him. But he was taking liberties because he got a bit of power. You should never do that. Never. I'm telling people now, if you're listening to this and if you're in any company and you think you've got any power, don't abuse it, because it will come back to bite you. I have never, ever done that. Whatever job I've had in the last 10 years, I don't have any say on anything anymore. But I still do my bit, and I know I do more than my fair share, but I don't think I've got anything. Right? I'm just me, and I'm doing a job for somebody else. Right. Triple H said to me, we will have this. He said, what about bringing Robbie over for a few months to learn our system, and then when we eventually open this up, he can be whatever he needs to be, the head trainer, whatever it needs to be. What they did do was bring Robbie over not long after that, and never let him go because he's so good at what he does, and he's such an incredible trainer and such an incredible human being, and he's everybody's, and I've said this before, but he's everybody's brother, sister, mom, dad, agony aunt, and trainer to start with. Everybody from all over the world that goes to NXT. And he never went back. Now, so anybody who thinks that there's other things that happened afterwards, but they think that wasn't in plan. It was in plan from then onwards. And I was keeping an eye on things from then onwards. And I know this because I've heard this very recently. I've told you before, it doesn't take me a lot to find out what's really happening. Right? Oh, this and that.